Hello, I was gonna say welcome back to my channel, but this is not my channel. My name's Kalyn. If you don't already know me, I have a YouTube channel called Kalyn Woodbury where I talk about my pets and I help give other pet owners tips, basically. I have a lot of pets ranging from fish and snakes and water dragons and leopard geckos and cats, and basically if there's an animal, I have it. Basically. I live in a super cold area of Canada where I got to -48 Celsius this month, or -55 in Fahrenheit, basically really freaking cold, and it was awful. And a power outage was a really scary idea for me. So I made a plan on what I would do for all my animals if a power outage occurred, especially at that super low temperature where they would probably all die. And I thought it'd be cool to share that with you guys in case you guys ever have an emergency like that. God forbid. I hope it never happens, but you know, it could. So power outages can last anywhere from a few seconds to a few days to weeks or longer. And it's important to have plans because you can't really, I mean, unless it's scheduled, but if it's just like a random power outage, you can't really tell it's coming or you can't really plan for them. You just have to be ready. The best way to avoid any issues is to invest in a backup power supply, like a generator, beforehand. But those are super expensive, and I can totally understand if you don't have like $500 to $800 sitting around. So the rest of the tips will be for you. The first thing you want to do with your aquarium as soon as power goes out is take your filter out. Now I know this doesn't really make sense because your filter won't be running, but that's the entire point. You want to make sure that you submerge your filter in dechlorinated water where the bacteria can live and not dry out. And it's also going to prevent the fish waste and gunk and fish food from breaking down and starting to convert to methane and hydrogen sulfide, which are two gases that are really toxic to fish. If your tank isn't planted, you can put a heavy blanket over top of it to keep in that warmth of the water. If your tank is heavily planted, you shouldn't do this, and I'll tell you why later. Then you should just sit and wait for an hour or two. The oxygen levels and temperatures will generally only fluctuate a little bit in this time, and your animals will be better off if the power comes back and you would just let them be versus you going in there and fiddling with stuff and messing them around and stressing them out. If it's longer than 3 hours, that's when you can start to get a bit concerned. Oxygen depletion is by far the biggest killer when it comes to power outages. Basically, your fish drown. This is why you should leave heavily planted tanks uncovered, because if they get light, the plants are going to produce oxygen. Anything that disturbs the surface of the water will allow oxygen to penetrate and oxygenate the water. So if you have a battery-powered aerator, if you have a bicycle pump, if you have a mug that you can pick up water and pour it back in, it doesn't really matter what it is as long as it moves the water a little bit. You also want to monitor your temperatures, and you only want to take action if it drops to a deadly temperature, which varies from species to species. Again, typically your fish will be better off if you don't mess with the temperature, but if your fish are like dying from being too cold, then of course you can take action. You can float cold bags of water if you have cold water fish that need to cool down, or you can float warm bags of water in tropical fish tanks that need to raise. You really want to monitor the temperature and make sure it's not suddenly spiking so that your animals don't get more stressed out. It's a super delicate and scary process, and that's why I really recommend that you don't touch the temperature, because sudden temperature changes can really shock your fish and hurt them a lot more than just letting them be. If you're wondering how you could fill bags of warm water to float in your tank in a power outage when you don't really have a stove, I recommend buying a portable stovetop. So basically this will be really good for you if you want to eat during a power outage, if you don't have a gas range of course, but it'll also allow you to heat up water and put it in bags to float in your tank. You can also buy those portable hand warmers and put them in a bag and float them or tape them to the side. You really want to make sure that anything you float in your tank isn't too cold or too hot where it will drastically change your temperature, or if your fish touches the bag where it'll burn or hurt them. Stop feeding your fish and other aquatic animals immediately. So when the temperature isn't ideal, which it typically won't be if there's a power outage, they can't really metabolize food that well. Also, the more food you give them, the more they'll poop, which is totally the opposite of what you want when you don't have a filter running. As soon as oxygen starts to deplete, your pH is going to get out of whack. Do people still say whack? I feel like it's an underrated word. Whack. Anyway, Monitor those two and get a temp gun because those are really the best. Keep testing your water parameters, and if it gets too bad, you can start doing water changes if it's going to save your fish's life. If you want to stock up on pH changers or things like zeolite, which manage ammonia, then I really recommend you do so because it'll help you a lot so you don't have to do water changes. But if you do water changes, make sure that you match the temperatures as much as possible. The water you add to your tank should be the exact same temperature as the water already in there, which is where the portable stove I recommend would come in handy. If you like this video, you'll love my channel. There will be a link to my channel below. I'd really appreciate it if you popped by and checked out my videos. I'd also like to thank Dusty for including me in this creator showcase. I was incredibly honored, and yeah, it's cool. I really like the videos that have come out so far, and it makes me happy to be a part of such a wonderful community. So thank you, Dusty, and thank you guys for watching this and the rest of the creators. I think we all really appreciate it. And again, subscribe to me. I hope you have a great day, and yeah, bye!